you think you know Iran. You think it is a landscape of sand and headlines, a single sun-scorched color on a map of geopolitical tension. But have you ever asked how a civilization can persist for 3 millennia on a plateau ringed by desert and fractured by the Earth's deep, violent movements? Forget the images you have been handed. Iran is not the country of the news bulletin. It is a land where entire villages are carved into volcanic cones, where people sleep inside the memory of ancient fire. A place where a forest of clouds can exist just a ridge away from one of the hottest deserts on Earth, and where the soil of an island is so red, so rich with iron, that for centuries it has been ground into a spice and baked into bread. This is an image of Iran, completely at odds with the one you have been given. A way of life built not on the stone, but within it, a conversation with geology carried on across hundreds of generations without interruption. Welcome to an Iran you have never seen, where time does not move forward, but seeps slowly into every layer of rock, every shade of earth, and every human life that has learned not to conquer the land, but to listen to it. In the volcanic foothills of Mount Sahand, the earth itself offers the blueprint for settlement. This is not a landscape that was tamed or altered for human convenience. It was accepted, understood, and inhabited on its own terms. Thousands of years of eruption and erosion have left behind a forest of conical rock formations, pillars of hardened ash and lava, known as tuff. Here, in the village of Kandavan, human settlement did not begin with a foundation. It did not level the ground to build upon it. It burrowed within it, seeking shelter in the very heart of the geology. The house is not an object placed in the landscape. It is a chamber carved from the landscape itself, a negative space created within the positive mass of the mountain's ancient leavings. The act of creating a home here is an act of subtraction, not addition, a hollowing out of a space for life within a solid that has stood for eons. To live here is to be enveloped by the earth, to sleep within a stone that still holds the memory of fire. The security it offers is primal, womb-like, a return to a fundamental state of shelter that modern architecture, with its thin walls and separation from the elements, can never replicate. The sound within these chambers is muted, the outside world softened, the silence profound. The soot on the ceiling is not a sign of neglect. It is a domestic archive, the accumulated layered record of every meal cooked, every story told, every generation that has drawn its warmth from this exact spot of stone. Where the mountains create barriers, they also create pockets of deep time, isolated sanctuaries where ancient ways of life, sheltered from the homogenizing forces of the outside world, have been allowed to persist with extraordinary consistency. Nearly 7,200 feet up in the Carcass Range, the village of Abiane is defined by a single, dominant geological fact: the high concentration of iron oxide in the local soil. The village is not just built on this earth, it is built from it. Its mud brick walls the exact color of the surrounding rock, making it almost disappear into the landscape from a distance. This material possesses a counterintuitive and miraculous property. It hardens with rain rather than eroding, meaning every storm that has passed through this valley over centuries has only reinforced the walls that shelter its people, a gift from the very climate that makes life here so challenging. This profound physical isolation has fostered a parallel cultural one. The dialect spoken here is a form of Middle Persian, a linguistic fossil that has all but vanished from the rest of the country. The traditional dress is worn not for festivals or tourists, but as the daily uniform of village life, a deliberate and proud visual refusal of the black chador common elsewhere. The architecture itself encodes a social order that has remained largely unchanged. The dual knockers on a single door, one with a deep tone for men, one with a lighter tone for women, are not a quaint decoration. They are a functioning technology of social separation, a physical manifestation of deeply ingrained customs, a social code preserved in wood and iron. If Kandovan and Abiane are worlds built inside the stone, there are other worlds the stone has built for itself, in silence and in darkness, without witness. Deep beneath the Zagros Mountains, water has spent 14 million years in patient, silent labor. This is Ali Sada, one of the largest water caves on the planet, a vast subterranean network of channels and lakes carved by the slow, persistent dissolution of limestone. To move through it is to travel through geological time, to witness a creative process that operates on a scale beyond human comprehension, a process devoid of audience or intent. The air is cool and heavy, carrying the scent of wet stone and deep time. It is a silence that is not empty, but full of the immense, slow pressure of the earth above. To be here is to feel the planet's interiority, to understand that the world we walk upon is merely a thin crust over vast, hidden geographies. The chambers, some rising over 100 feet, were not shaped for any purpose, but the one dictated by the water's own patient search for a path through the rock. It is a profound reminder that the most monumental architecture on Earth is the one that predates human hands, a world beneath the world. Where the only sound is the metronome of a single drop of water falling into a still pool, each one marking a moment in a story that began long before we arrived and will continue long after we are gone. From the cool, creative darkness of the cave, the journey moves into the blinding light of the furnace. This is the Dashti Lut, the empty desert, one of the hottest and driest places on the surface of the earth, a landscape sterilized by light. Here, the primary force of creation is not water, but its absolute and unforgiving absence. The landscape is shaped by a wind that has blown in the same direction for millennia, carrying sand that acts as a relentless abrasive, carving the softer rock into colossal sculptures known as yardangs or kaluts. They stand like the ruins of a mythical cyclopean city, an architecture of subtraction on a planetary scale. To be here is to be in a place that makes no concessions to life. It is a landscape of pure geology, the anatomy of the planet laid bare, where the sun's heat is so intense it sterilizes the ground. The silence here is not an absence of sound, but a presence in itself, a weight that presses on the ears. It is a landscape that forces a recalibration of the self, shrinking the ego to its proper proportion against the backdrop of geological time. The Lut Desert teaches a difficult but necessary lesson, that some parts of the world are not for us, that their power and their beauty lie in their profound, uncompromising indifference to our existence. Yet, even in the heart of aridity, water can perform miracles of creation. Not far from the great deserts, a different kind of geological process unfolds, not one of erosion, but of accretion. This is Badabi Surt, a landscape built by two mineral hot springs over thousands of years. As the water flows down the mountainside, it cools and deposits carbonate minerals, building layer by microscopic layer a staircase of travertine terraces. It is the precise opposite of the Lut's destructive wind. It is a slow, patient, and constructive force, an antidote to the desert's emptiness. The vibrant colors are not a trick of the light. They are the result of iron oxides in the water, a form of natural painting where the artist is the Earth's own internal chemistry made visible. In the harshness of the Lut, the world is stripped away to its bones. Here, it is slowly, patiently, exquisitely built up, flesh-like, from the inside out. It is a landscape that feels alive, as if it is growing before our eyes, a slow-motion crystallization that stands in beautiful defiance of the entropy that governs the desert nearby. Badabi Surt is a testament to the creative power that persists in the most unlikely of places. In a land of such extreme geology, survival has often meant seeking the most difficult ground, turning verticality into a shield. High in the Alborz Range, a single monolithic spire of rock rises from the valley floor, a natural fortress that required not a brilliant architect, but a brilliant strategist to recognize its potential. This is Alamut, the legendary castle of the assassins. For nearly 2 centuries, it was the impregnable center of the Nizari Ismaili state, a community that turned geology into its greatest defense, fusing faith and stone into a single entity. The castle is not built upon the mountain. It is an extension of it, its walls growing from the sheer cliff face, its cisterns carved deep into the living rock. To live here was to accept a life of absolute verticality, a world of narrow ledges and steep staircases. Daily life was a constant, lifelong negotiation with altitude that shapes the body and the mind. Every trip for water, every watch stood on the ramparts, was an act of physical and mental discipline. This was not just a fortress, it was a monastery of endurance, a place where the spirit was forged against the unforgiving reality of the stone. Alamut is a monument to the idea that the most inhospitable terrain can, with enough ingenuity and conviction, become a sanctuary. The same mountain range that creates the sharp, defensive peaks of Alamut performs a different kind of magic just a short distance away, on its opposite face. Here, the northern slopes of the Alborz rise like a great wall to trap the humid air of the Caspian Sea, giving birth to the Abba Forest, the forest of clouds. For much of the year, a dense ocean of fog flows from the lowlands up into the forest, submerging the landscape in a silent, moving sea of white. To walk here is to feel the boundary between earth and sky dissolve, to enter a world muffled and transformed. The ancient Hyrcanian trees, survivors of the last ice age, rise like pillars from the mist, their branches draped in moss, their forms softened by the diffused light. The air is thick with the smell of damp earth and decaying leaves, a scent of immense fertility. This is the other side of the mountain's logic, where one face offers the harsh clarity of rock and sun. The other offers the soft, mysterious embrace of moisture and shadow. It is a testament to the immense climatic diversity of a land that is too often imagined as a single, monolithic desert, a place where 2 entirely different worlds can exist, back to back, separated only by a ridge of stone. Where the Iranian plateau finally meets the sea, the earth reveals its most vibrant secrets, as if its deep, internal chemistry has bled through to the surface. This is Hormuz Island, a salt dome thrust upward from the seafloor over millions of years, carrying with it a concentration of more than 70 distinct minerals. The result is a landscape that feels less like geology and more like a painter's palette. The red earth, called golek, is so rich in iron oxide that for centuries it has been used not just as a pigment, but as a spice mixed into the local bread. Here, the people do not just live on the landscape, they consume it, incorporating its mineral essence into their daily lives in the most intimate way possible. This is a place that challenges the very definition of a resource. Is the earth beneath one's feet simply ground to be walked upon? Or is it also a pantry, a pigment, a part of the body? The people of Hormuz answer this question. With every meal, with every celebration, living in a state of communion with their geology that the outside world has long since forgotten. Hormuz is a living geology, a land that wears its complex inner chemistry on its surface for all to see. Nearby, on the much larger island of Chesham, the forces of erosion have created a different kind of masterpiece, one of form rather than color. This is the Valley of Stars, a landscape carved not by volcanic upheaval, but by the patient, artistic work of wind and seasonal rain. Over 2 million years, these elements have sculpted the soft marl and sandstone into a labyrinth of otherworldly forms, spires, columns, arches, and hollows. Local legend holds that the valley was created when a star fell from the sky, and to walk among its silent, towering sentinels is to feel the truth of that myth. The formations seem too delicate, too fantastical to be the work of chance. Such a landscape demands a story, as if the human mind requires a narrative to process a place so far outside its normal experience. It is a place that resists simple explanation and invites contemplation, a natural cathedral that speaks of deep time and the slow, persistent power of the elements to create forms of breathtaking complexity and grace. It feels like a place where the earth is dreaming, its subconscious thoughts made manifest in stone. The journey ends at the country's farthest edge, where two kinds of immensity meet in a stark and beautiful confrontation. In Chabahar, the deserts of Baluchistan run directly into the Indian Ocean. Here, the so-called Martian Mountains, a Badlands landscape of serrated ridges and dry riverbeds, create a scene of profound, almost primal emptiness. This is a coastline defined by collision, where the logic of the desert, aridity, heat, and wind is confronted by the logic of the ocean, moisture, tides, and salt. It is a place of elemental beauty, a fitting conclusion to a journey through a land of contrasts. It is a reminder that the edges of the world are often where its character is most clearly defined, where the fundamental forces that shape the planet are laid bare, locked in a silent, eternal dialogue. It is a landscape that feels like the very edge of possibility, where life clings to the narrow margin between two powerful and opposing forces, a testament to the tenacity of existence in the face of the absolute. A journey through this land is a journey through layers of time and through a different philosophy of existence. It is to understand that in none of these places did human life attempt to conquer the landscape it occupied. No hillsides were leveled, no canyons rerouted, no rigid geometric grid imposed upon ground that refused to be flat. The architecture did not shape the land shaped the architecture, and the people, through a wisdom accumulated over millennia, accepted those terms without negotiation. This is not a story of human dominance over nature, a narrative that has become so common in the modern world. It is a story of human accommodation with it, a story of humility, ingenuity, and a profound, inherited familiarity with impermanence. What has persisted here is not the result of favorable circumstance, but of a long, inherited familiarity with pressure. It is the accumulated understanding that the most appropriate response to an unstable and challenging world is not to demand that it stabilize, not to fight against its fundamental nature, but to learn, across generations, the precise and subtle art of living well within it. As climate and uncertainty begin to redefine the conditions of existence for societies that have spent centuries assuming otherwise, the places that never held that assumption, the places that built their wisdom directly from pressure, from scarcity, from the necessity of negotiating with a land that offered beauty and hardship in equal and inseparable measure, begin to feel less like exceptions to the modern story and more like its earliest, most essential chapters. They are a quiet but powerful testament that the most resilient civilizations are not always the ones that build the highest walls or the most powerful engines. They are the ones that learn to listen most closely to the earth, to understand its materials, to respect its forces, and to build their lives in harmony with its oldest, most powerful, and most enduring rhythms. They are a form of wisdom the world has largely forgotten, a wisdom it may desperately need to remember.